So now, good morning everyone. I will not ask about the yesterday's paper because I am not having the paper here. I will not say it was an easy or a tough paper here. In the previous class we have completed about the structure of I. Now we are going to discuss about the functioning of I. Now we are going to discuss about the functioning of I. Or in simple language we will say mechanism of vision. That is the mechanism of vision here. In simple language we will say we are going to discuss the mechanism of vision here. When we are saying about the mechanism of vision, what is the sequence here? Here there are sequential events. Here there are sequential events that you have to remember. The first event, that is the incident of light on the retina. Here. This is the very first step that you have to remember. Incident of light on the retina here. So now just see the innermost layer, that is the retina. Now the light is entering, light is falling on retina through cornea, then it is passing the lens and ultimately it is falling on the retina here. So incident of light on retina, this is the first step in the mechanism of vision or in the formation of an image here. That is the incident of light on retina here. When light is falling on retina, we have already discussed the sequence is the photoreceptive zone, bipolar neuronic zone, and here that is the ganglionic zone. So light is going in this direction and it will come up to the photoreceptive zone here. So when the incident of light on the retina, we can say that it is coming in contact with the rods and cones. Here. So when light is coming here, it is coming in contact with the rods and cones here. So there is a pigment in these cells that is known as the rhodopsin. Here. So when the light falls on these rods and cones, it means photoreceptive cell here. The rhodopsin, it dissociates into the retinal plus opsin. Here. When light falls on the photoreceptive cells, there is dissociation of rhodopsin into the retinal plus opsin here. Retinal, it is an aldehyde. Whereas opsin is a protein. Here. So what happened in the first step? Incident of light on the retina here. Second step we can say, if this is the first step, in the second step we can say dissociation of retinal from the opsin here. So in the second step what happened? Dissociation of retinal from the opsin here. And same, what is protein here? Here the protein is the opsin. So here the protein is the opsin here. So when there is dissociation of retinal, from the opsin, there is structural changes. There are structural changes in the opsin. Which is present in the rods and cones. Just see, maybe it is the rhodopsin of rods, maybe it is the iodopsin of cones. Both are having the opsin. So structural changes takes place. In the third step, there are structural changes in the opsin here. Opsin is a protein. Structural changes takes place in the opsin, and what is opsin? That is the protein here. What is opsin? That is the protein here. When structural changes takes place in the opsin, the membrane permeability of rods and cones changes. The membrane permeability of rods and cones, the membrane permeability of rods and cones, the membrane permeability of rods and cones, it is getting changed. It is getting changed here. So when there is structural changes, in the opsin protein, there is change in the membrane permeability of rods and cones. There is change in the membrane permeability of rods and cones here. When there is change in the membrane permeability, now the impulse will transmit. Now the impulse will transmit from where? Transmit from photoreceptive zone to, it will transmit from photoreceptive zone to bipolar neuronic zone. It means bipolar neuron cells, and it will transmit up to the ganglionic cell layer. It will transmit up to the ganglionic cell layer here. The light is coming in this direction. Process of vision takes place in this direction here. So now, when there is change in the membrane permeability of rods and cones, here, the impulse will transmit from photoreceptive zone to the bipolar neuronic zone, and it is going to the ganglionic cell layer. Now, what is happening? There is generation of action potential. There is generation of action potential in the ganglionic cell. There is generation of the action potential in the ganglionic cell here. So what happened? To whom the action potential generates? It generates in the ganglionic cell here. Now it is known by us the axons of ganglionic cell. The axons of ganglionic cells, they combine to form a nerve that is known as the optic nerve. And through the optic nerve, the sense of vision, they are reaching up to the occipital lobe. Here. Through the optic nerve, the impulses are reaching up to the occipital lobe. In the occipital lobe, there is a particular area that is known as the visual area. In the occipital lobe, there is a particular area that is known as the visual area. And in visual area, it will analyze. Visual area will analyze what the person is observing or what the person is seeing here. So this is the mechanism of vision, or we can say that is the functioning of eye here. Again, I am saying, try to get the point here. First basic point that you have to remember, like on retina, if I will say retina, photoreceptive zone, bipolar neuronic zone, then ganglionic zone, and here they combine, axons of these, they combine to form the optic nerve here. So here this is the inner side, this is the outer side. Try to get it clearly. The light is coming in this direction. This is the flow of light, and this is the way of data processing. It means process of formation of vision here. If you will remember, then only it is possible. It is not tough. It is easy. So you have to remember here the light, the way of light, ganglionic to bipolar to photoreceptive. Formation of image from photoreceptive to bipolar ganglionic zone, and they are forming the optic nerve here. So this is the mechanism of formation of image here. Again, I am saying, try to get the point. Light entering through cornea, through lens, through vitreous humor, and falling on the retina. Getting? In the retina, what is the sequence from inside to outside? Ganglionic cell layer, bipolar neuronic cell layer, and photoreceptive cell. In the photoreceptive cell, rods and cones. Getting, they are having pigment, and in this pigment one, that is the opsin is also there. That is a part of that pigments here. So when the light incident of light on the retina, there is dissociation of rhodopsin. Rhodopsin dissociates into retinal plus opsin. Retinal, it is an aldehyde, opsin is a protein, and opsin is present in both rods and cones in the form of pigments here. Retin, opsin is the part of pigment here. So when it takes place, when dissociation takes place, we can say there is change in membrane permeability of rods and cones. And where the rods and cones are, they are change in the structural permeability of rods and cones. And where the rods and cones are present, they are present in the photoreceptive zone. So now the impulse will transmit. The light comes in this direction. Now the action potential, we can say impulse will transmit from photoreceptive cell to the bipolar cell to the ganglionic cell. In the ganglionic cell, there is generation of the action potential, and now the axon of these ganglionic cell, they combine to form the second cranial nerve, that is known as the optic, and optic nerve will carry the impulse sense of vision up to the visual cortex, that is the visual area, that is the visual cortex. And where the visual cortex is present, that is present in the occipital lobe of cerebrum here. And here the cerebrum is analyzing, what we have observed or what we have seen. Eye are related only with the formation of image, but what we have seen, it is decided by the brain here. So this is the mechanism of vision, or how the image formation takes place. This is the mechanism of vision, or how the image formation takes place here. This is very important. Again saying, inner side, outer side, inner side, outer side. It is the lens, it is the cornea, it is the retina, if I will say. Here the photoreceptive zone, bipolar neuronic zone, ganglionic zone, they are forming the nerve that is known as the optic nerve here. So here the light is coming in this direction, getting. Now here at this level there is a, we can say, that is the change in the membrane permeability. Impulse is coming here, then impulse will come here. Here there is generation of action potential, and now this action potential, it comes into the optic nerve, and through the optic nerve it will go into the brain here. So this is the process, mechanism of vision or functioning of eye here. That is very easy, not tough here. Next point that you have to remember, the image which is formed on retina, the image which is formed on retina, it is the real and inverted. It is the real, but it is the inverted here. So eye is forming the inverted image, and this is the corrected by the brain here. So image which is formed on retina, it is the real and inverted, and in the process of vision, the light energy is converted in the form of chemical energies. That is, process is known as the transduction. Transduction means one form of energy is converted into the another form of energy. So who is transducer? Here the rod cells and cone cells, they are the transducer, because they are converting the light energy in the form of chemical energy here. Now just see, there is one thing that is known as the visual cycle, and it is also known as the Bode cycle. It was given by the Bode cycle. It comes in the additional points here. This is the visual cycle, or this is the Bode cycle here. So here you have to remember one point: synthesis of rhodopsin. Synthesis of rhodopsin takes place in dark. Synthesis of rhodopsin, it takes place in dark. When the synthesis of rhodopsin takes place, it takes place in dark here. Just see, cis-retinine plus opsin. Cis-retinine plus opsin in the dark, they are forming the rhodopsin. Here. In the dark, cis-retinine plus opsin, they combine to form the rhodopsin here. Getting cis-retinine plus opsin, they combine to form the rhodopsin. Whereas in presence of light, the rhodopsin, it dissociates into transretinine. It dissociates into transretinine plus opsin here. So this one is the visual cycle that you have to remember here. This one is the visual cycle, or it is also given by the Bode. So you have to remember that synthesis of rhodopsin takes place in the dark. Cis-retinine plus opsin, they combine to form the rhodopsin, and in the light, the rhodopsin dissociates into the transretinine plus the opsin here. So this one is the point related with the functioning of eye here. Now we are coming on the next point, that is the disorders of the eye. Now we are coming on the point that is known as the disorders of the eye here. So note down the next heading, note down the next heading here, note down the next heading, that is the disorders of eye. We are going to discuss next one, that is known as the disorders of eye. Disorders of eye. When we are coming on the disorders of eye, first we are going to discuss the disorders which are due to loss of accommodation power of lens. Accommodation power of lens, which are due to loss of accommodation power of lens, which are due to loss of accommodation power of lens. So first we are going to discuss the disorders related with the loss of accommodation power of lens here. In the loss of accommodation power of lens, we have to discuss three. First one, that is known as the hypermetropia. Hypermetropia, that is known as the long sightedness, that is known as the long sightedness. Second one, that is known as the myopia. Second one, that is known as the myopia, that is known as the short sightedness. And third one, that is due to the loss of accommodation power of lens, that is the old age disorder, that is known as the presbyopia here. So we have to discuss related with the loss of accommodation power of lens. We have to discuss three: hypermetropia, that is the long sightedness; myopia, that is the short sightedness; and presbyopia, that we have discussed here, that is the fixed here. So due to the loss of accommodation power of lens, we have to discuss three. First one, that is known as the hypermetropia; second one, that is the myopia; and third one, that is the presbyopia here. So we are going to discuss first one, that is the hypermetropia. Hypermetropia. What is the name of the disorder? Hypermetropia. It is also known as the long sightedness. It is also known as the long sightedness here. What is happening in the long sightedness? First point you have to remember, it is due to the loss. It is due to the loss of accommodation. It is due to the loss of accommodation power of lens. It is due to the loss of accommodation power of lens here. The hypermetropia is due to the loss of accommodation power of lens here. That is the hypermetropia. In hypermetropia, individual means the person. Individual is able to see the object. Individual is able to see the object which is situated at a distance to the eye. Which is situated at a distance which is situated at a distance to the eye. Which is situated at a distance to the eye, but not able to see the object, situated near to the eye here. So what is hypermetropia? A long sightedness. Individual is able to see the object which is situated at a distance to the eye, but not able to see the object situated near to the eye here. Maybe you have discussed this in physics also here. Why it is so? Because just see, it is the retina, this is the lens here, and this is the cornea here. Due to the loss of accommodation power of lens, here what is happening? The image of the object which is situated at a distance, it is formed on the retina. Whereas the image of the object, like here the image is there. So the image of this object, it is formed on the retina, but not able to see the object which is situated near to the eye, because the image is forming behind the retina. because the image is forming behind the retina here. So in the hypermetropia, the image formed behind the retina. Image is forming behind the retina. The image is forming behind the retina. So now just see, the image is forming behind the retina, and we have to form the image on retina. So what we have to do? The images are going on this. So we have to conserve the light rays here. Then the image will form on the retina here. So for the correction of hypermetropia, we have to use the convergent lens. For the correction of hypermetropia, we have to use the convergent lens. And convergent lens, it is nothing. It is in physics, it is the convex lens. So for the correction of hypermetropia, we are using the convergent lens, or that is nothing, that is known as the convex lens here. So this is the one hypermetropia known as the long-sightedness. It means it is due to loss of accommodation power of lens. Individual, it is able to see the object which is situated at a distance to the eye, but not able to see the object situated near the eye. Why? Because the object which is situated near the eye, the image is forming behind the retina. It means there is a need to conserve. Need to, we can say, convergent lens is required to fall the light on retina here. So convergent lens is used to correct this hypermetropia here, because here the image is formed behind the retina here. Why it happened? Why the image is formed on the retina? Because the size of the eyeball is getting short. It means here you have to remember, eyeball short up. It means the size of eyeball decreases. That's why the image is formed. That's why the image is formed behind the retina here. So this one is the first disorder that you have to remember. This is the first disorder that you have to remember. That is the hypermetropia. Here. And it is due to how it is corrected? It is corrected with the help of a lens that is known as the convergent lens. Or it is also known as the convex lens. Here. And now you have to remember, hypermetropia is a normal condition. Hypermetropia is a normal condition in the newborn babies. Hypermetropia is a normal condition in the newborn babies. It is a normal condition in the newborn babies here. Hypermetropia is a normal condition in the newborn babies here. Hypermetropia is a normal condition in the newborn babies here. Now, say me, what is the minimum distance of the distinct vision? Distinct vision means the clear vision. So, minimum distance of distinct vision. Minimum distance of distinct vision, it is the 25 centimeters. What is the maximum distance of distinct vision? Maximum distance, that is the infinite. We are able to see the stars in the sky. So that is the infinite here. So now just see the minimum distance. So this all you have to remember one disorder that is known as the hypermetropia, or that is known as the long-sightedness. Now after studying this, and here what happened? The size of eyeball, that is very important. Size of eyeball, that is the shorter. It means the size decreases here. In which direction it decreases? Again you have to remember, in which direction the size decreases? It decreases in the anterior posterior direction. In the anterior posterior direction, the size of eyeball decreases here. It means in this direction the size of eyeball decreases here. So this is the hypermetropia, that is known as the long-sightedness, and it is corrected by the convex lens here. It is corrected by the convex lens here. Now we are coming on the second one. That is known as the myopia. myopia, that is also known as the short-sightedness. Myopia is also known as the short-sightedness here, and now it is also due to the loss of accommodation power of lens. Loss of accommodation power of lens. It is also due to the loss of accommodation power of the lens. Now I am not going to write on the board. I will explain. Try to get it. Just opposite to hypermetropia, that is the myopia. In myopia, an individual is able to see the object which is situated close to the eye. The individual is able to see the object which is situated close. Close means near to the eye here. Why? Because the object which is situated near the eye, the image is formed on the retina. But not able to see the object which is situated at a distance to the eye. Individual is able to see the object which is situated near to the eye, but not able to see the object which is situated at a distance. Why? Because when the object is situated at a distance, the image is forming before the retina. Now, where the image is formed? It formed before the retina. In hypermetropia, the image is forming behind the retina. But in myopia, the image is formed before the retina here. Getting this point? The image is formed before the retina. Image is formed before the retina. So now the image is formed. Now this is the retina and here the image is formed. So we have a lens which is able to diverge. So here in the correction of myopia, that is the short-sightedness, we are using the divergent lens. And divergent lens is also known as the concave lens. Here. So again, in myopia, what you have to remember? Able to see the object which is situated near, it means the close to eye, but not able to see the object which is situated at a distance to the eye, Why? Because the image of an object which is situated at a distance to the eye, image is formed before the retina. Here. So here we are using the divergent lens. And what happened here? It means here the size of eyeball, it is longer. It means it increases. The size of eyeball increases longer. The size of eyeball increases here. In the anterior posterior direction, the size of eyeball increases here. So first one, that is known as the hypermetropia. Second one, that is known as the myopia. Now there is an old age disorder. When the elasticity of lens decreases. That is known as the presbyopia. Here. It is the age-related disorder here. That is the presbyopia here. It is due to loss of the elasticity of lens. Here. It is due to the loss of the elasticity of lens. That is known as the presbyopia, and it is age-related. It is age-related problem. Here. The presbyopia is age-related problem due to the loss of the elasticity of lens here. So when there is loss of the elasticity of lens, what is happening in the presbyopia? Individual is able to see the object, which is situated at a constant distance to eye, here. Neither so near nor far away. It means which is situated at a constant distance to the eye. The individual is able to see the object which is situated at a constant distance to eye. It means like this. If it will come here, not able to see. If it will go, not able to see. Because there is loss of the elasticity of lens. And it is the age-related problem. And for the correction of this, we are using the bifocal lens. Bifocal lens means having both convex and concave here. Maybe you have seen the specs having two parts. One the line is visible, that is the upper and lower. So here we are using the bifocal lens here. So these three mainly related due to the loss of accommodation power of the lens here. Other disorders which are not related with the accommodation but related with some other problem here, some other cause here. The fourth one that is known as the astigmatism. Just note down the fourth one, that is known as the astigmatism. Astigmatism. The fourth one that is known as the astigmatism. The fourth one that is known as the astigmatism. Astigmatism. It is due to change. It is due to change in the curvature of. It is due to the change in the curvature of. It is due to the change in the curvature of either lens or cornea. It is due to the change in the curvature of. It is due to the change in the curvature of either lens or cornea here. So if I will say, if it is the cornea, normally the cornea is like this, but if there is change in the curvature, so it happens like this. Okay, so now it is the cornea here. Normally the lens is like this, but change in the curvature. So what happens with the lens? That is the lens happened like this. So that is the change in the curvature of cornea or the lens here. And when the condition is like this, it means that the light rays will not enter into, they will not incident on retina in a regular manner. So it will cause distortion. It will cause distortion of image. It will cause distortion of image here. It means no clear image, distortion of image here. It will cause the distortion of image. And for the correction of astigmatism, we are using the cylindrical lens. We are using the cylindrical lens here. And just to correct this distortion of image, we are using the cylindrical lens here. So this is about the fourth disorder, that is known as the astigmatism here. And astigmatism is corrected with the help of lens which are known as the cylindrical lens here. So this is the fourth disorder, that is known as the astigmatism here. Now we are going to discuss the fifth one, that is known as the cataract. The fifth one that is known as the cataract here. Cataract, it is also a age-related problem here. It is also a age-related problem. It is also a age-related problem, that is known as the cataract here. Also a age-related problem here. Now just see, as the age increases, the opacity of lens also increases. It means the transparency of the lens decreases here. As the age increases, the opacity of lens also increases here. It means the transparency of the lens, it decreases here. It means the transparency of the lens, it decreases here. So there is no formation of image because the opacity of the lens increases here. For the correction of this cataract, we are using intraocular lens. We are using intraocular lens which are also known as the synthetic lens. We are using the intraocular lens or we are using the synthetic lens here. We are using the intraocular lens or we are using the synthetic lens here. Intraocular lens or we are using the synthetic lens here. Here you have to remember the artificial lens, synthetic lens or intraocular lens, they are made up of the intraocular lens or synthetic lens, they are made up of PMMA. They are made up of PMMA. The intraocular lens or synthetic lens are made up of PMMA, polymethyl methacrylate. Polymethyl methacrylate here. The intraocular lens or synthetic lens, they are made up of polymethyl methacrylate here. They are made up of polymethyl methacrylate, and this substance is also used in making the colored glass. This substance is also used in making the colored glass. This substance is also used in making the colored glass, that is the PMMA, polymethyl methacrylate here. And now just see the laser therapy. Laser therapy used in the treatment of eye. The laser therapy which is used in the treatment of eye, that is known as the LASIK. The laser therapy which is used in the treatment of eye, that is known as the LASIK. LASIK means laser in situ keratomelastosis. Need not to remember the full form, only remember LASIK. LASIK therapy is used, the laser therapy which is used in the treatment of eye, that is known as the LASIK here. So laser, that is LASIK laser, that is the laser in situ keratomelastosis, that is known as the LASIK, laser in situ keratomelastosis here. So this one you have to remember related with the cataract here. Now we are coming on the next disorder related with the eye, that is known as the glaucoma. The sixth disorder related with the eye, that is known as the glaucoma. Glaucoma, that is known as the glaucoma. In glaucoma, you know, we have discussed that there is a pressure that is known as the intraocular pressure. Intraocular pressure. We have discussed now this intraocular pressure. Normal value of intraocular pressure 20 to 25 mm of Hg. We have already discussed. An instrument which is used for the measuring of this intraocular pressure, that is the tonometer. We are doing the tonometry here. So intraocular pressure is mainly due to the intraocular pressure. The intraocular pressure, it is mainly due to aqueous humor. It is mainly due to aqueous humor. It is mainly due to aqueous humor. Intraocular pressure, it is mainly due to aqueous humor. Some of the intraocular pressure is also exerted by the vitreous, but that is not significant. It is due to the aqueous humor here. So we have discussed that there is canal of Schlems. There is canal of Schlems. If you are remembering the structure of eyeball, we have discussed that one point, that secretion and absorption of aqueous humor is a continuous process. Remembering or not? Secretion and absorption of aqueous humor is a continuous process here. We have discussed secretion and absorption of aqueous humor is a continuous process here. Continuously the aqueous humor is secreted by the ciliary body. It is secreted by the ciliary body here, and the absorption, and continuously the absorption takes place in the blood stream through the canal of Schlemm. If you are remembering, we have discussed canal of Schlemm. They are the venous fluxes. Canal of Schlemm, they are the venous fluxes here. But just see, if there is an obstruction, in the canal of Schlemm, like just see here, mucus deposited here. If there is an obstruction in the canal of Schlemm, so absorption rate will decrease. So there is more accumulation of aqueous humor in the aqueous chamber. We have discussed the anterior and posterior chamber, that is the aqueous chamber. More deposition of aqueous humor in the aqueous chamber, it will increase the pressure. And when the pressure, intraocular pressure in the eyeball, it means we can say abnormal high pressure of this intraocular fluid, that is the aqueous humor, the condition is known as the glaucoma. And now the glaucoma, it can be treated with the help of drugs here, and we can say that here plus surgery. Sometimes the treatment is the drugs with the help of medicine, plus the surgery is also there. So drugs and surgery is there. So this one is very important, that is known as the glaucoma. So we have discussed glaucoma here. We have discussed glaucoma, that is the sixth disorder related with the eye here. We have discussed glaucoma, that is the sixth one. Now we are going to discuss another one, that is known as the night blindness. That is known as the night blindness. The disorder is known as the night blindness, or it is also known as the nyctalopia. Night blindness are also known as the nyctalopia. It is due to deficiency of vitamin A. It is due to deficiency of vitamin A here. It is due to deficiency of vitamin A. Night blindness and nyctalopia, that is due to deficiency of vitamin A here. So night blindness and nyctalopia, it is due to deficiency of vitamin A. What is vitamin A? That is the retinol. And in night blindness, the person is not able to see or not able to form the image when there is dim light. It means in the evening time, not able to form the clear image. Another disorder related with the deficiency of vitamin A, that is known as the xerophthalmia. Xerophthalmia. The condition is known as the dry eyes. The condition is known as the dry eyes. The condition is known as the dry eyes. It is also due to the deficiency of vitamin A here. Now eighth disorder that you have to remember, that is the keratomalacia. Keratomalacia, the eighth disorder, that is known as the keratomalacia, and that is nothing, it is ulcer in cornea, that is known as the keratomalacia here. So we have discussed the different disorders related with the eye. Again I am saying in short, please try to get it. Hypermetropia, that is known as the long-sightedness corrected with the help of convergent lens or convex lens. Myopia, short-sightedness corrected with the help of divergent lens, or that is the, we can say, concave lens. Presbyopia, bifocal lens. Astigmatism, that is the cylindrical lens. Cataract with the help of intraocular lens, that is the artificial lens here. Then we can say glaucoma with the medicine and surgery. Then xerophthalmia, night blindness, deficiency of vitamin A. Keratomalacia, that is the ulcer in cornea here. So these all the disorders related with the eye here, and they all are treatable. They all are treatable. It means we are able to treat this disorder with the help of drugs and surgery here. So these are the disorders related with the eye here. These are the disorders which are related with the eye here. And another point, if I will say, what are the structures? What are the structures which are related with the protection of eye here? That just see, that is the eyelids. Eyelids are there. Eyelashes are there. Eyebrows are there. Lacrimal glands are also there. So we can say the lacrimal gland. If I will say about the lacrimal gland, lacrimal glands, they are present on the lateral side of the eyeball, and there is lacrimal duct, and it is coming. Always the tears are coming on the inner side here, and in the tear, one very important thing is there. That is the enzyme lysozyme. That is very important. Tears are having enzyme lysozyme. Lysozyme, it is an antibacterial enzyme which dissolves the cell wall of some gram-positive bacteria here. So I will send some additional points that you have to read. Now, after the photoreceptor, we are coming on the another type of receptor which is known as the phonoreceptors. After the photoreceptors, now we are coming on the phonoreceptors here. And in the phonoreceptor, we have to discuss about the ear. In the phonoreceptor, we have to discuss about the ear. Now, where the ear are present? A pair of ear present in the temporal region. A pair of ear present in the temporal region here. Just see, this is the frontal, this is the parietal here, this region is the temporal, and this region is the occipital region. So a pair of ear, they are present in the temporal region. We are having a pair of ear, and this region is known as the temporal region here. The ear consists of three parts. When we are saying about the human being, the ear consists of three parts. External ear, I am writing in short, external ear, middle ear, and the internal ear. The ear consists of three parts: external ear, middle ear, and the internal ear. These are the three parts of the ear: external ear, middle ear, and the internal ear. When we are saying about the external ear consists of two parts. One, that is known as the pinna. One, that is known as the pinna. This part, one that is known as the pinna. Second one that is known as the external. Second one that is known as the external auditory canal. External auditory canal. That is also known as the external auditory meatus here. So we have to discuss one by one all the parts of ear. First we are going to discuss the external ear, and in the external ear we are going to discuss the first part that is known as the pinna. So we are going to discuss the first part of the external ear that is known as the pinna. So now note down the first heading that is known as the pinna. Pinna. Presence of ear pinna. This is the pinna. Presence of ear pinna. It is a characteristic. It is a characteristic. It is a characteristic feature. It is a characteristic feature of mammals. Presence of ear pinna is a characteristic feature of mammals. In mammals, the ear pinna is present, not in birds, not in reptiles. So, presence of ear pinna, not in frog even. They are having the eardrum, tympanum. So, presence of ear pinna is a characteristic feature of mammals, but absent in some mammals. But absent in some mammals. But it is absent in some mammals. Like if I will say whale, Balænoptera. It is an aquatic animal, aquatic mammal. We can say sea cow, that is Rhytina, again the aquatic, but there is one, that is the Protothenians, the egg-laying mammals are the initial mammals, that is the Protothenians. They are also not having the pinna. So presence of ear pinna is a characteristic feature of mammals, but it is absent in some mammals like whale, sea cow, and the Prototheria here. So pinna is absent in whale, it is absent in sea cow, and it is absent in the Prototheria here. Now, pinna is consist of three parts. The pinna is consist of three parts. The pinna is consist of three parts. First, that is the body of the pinna. Body of the pinna. The pinna is consist of three parts. First one, that is the body of the pinna. Second one, that is known as the lobule, and third one, that is known as the tragus, that is known as the triangular opening, that is known as the triangular opening here, triangular opening of ear, that is known as the tragus here. So what are the three parts of the pinna? See towards me. This is the body of the pinna. This is the body of the pinna here. This is the body of the pinna. This is the lobule. This is the lobule here. And if you will see on the inner side, there is triangular shaped structure. That triangular shaped structure is known as the tragus. It is the opening of the ear here. Sound waves are going from here. So that is the tragus. That is the triangular shaped opening here. So pinna is consist of three parts. One, that is the body of the pinna. Second one, that is the lobule. And third one, that is the tragus. That is the triangular opening of ear here. Pinna, it is made up of two layers. Pinna is made up of two layers. You have to remember, pinna is made up of two layers. The outer layer, pinna is made up of two layers. The outer layer, it is made up of skin. The outer layer is made up of skin. If I will say, you are able to keep in your fingers here, that is the outer layer, that is the skin here. And the inner layer, it is a cartilage here. It is a cartilage. And the type of cartilage in the ear pinna, that is the elastic cartilage. That is the elastic cartilage here. That's why when we are pulling like this, again it is coming in its normal position here. So pinna is consist of two layers. Outer layer, that is known as the skin, and inner layer, that is related, that is made up of cartilage. And here the type of cartilage which is present, that is known as the elastic cartilage here. So three parts of the pinna, two layers of the pinna here. Two muscles related with pinna. Two muscles related with pinna. You have to remember how many muscles related with pinna? Two. One, that is known as the protractor pinni. The muscles of the pinna is the pinni, protractor pinni. And second one, that is known as the retractor pinni, protector pinni and the retractor pinni here. protector pinnae, like maybe you have seen elephant, the ear pinna, they are moving on the back side, they are coming on the front side. So they are protector and retractor pinnae are there, but they are vestigial. They are vestigial in human beings. In human beings, the muscles of the pinna, they are vestigial. We are not able to rotate our ear here, but some human beings, they are capable to do it. But just the protector pinnae, retractor pinnae, they are vestigial in human beings here, but functional in some mammals. But the muscles are functional in some mammals, like you have seen elephant. In elephant they are functional, in dogs they are highly functional, we can say, and this property is known as the auditory acuity. This property is known as the auditory acuity. They are capable to move their pinna towards the source of the sound here. This property is known as the auditory acuity here. And what is the function of pinna? That is the collection of sound waves here. What is the function of pinna? That is the collection of sound waves here. So in this way, we have completed the first part of external ear, that is known as the pinna ear. Tomorrow we will start the external auditory canal or external auditory meters here. Again, all the best for today's test. Okay, all the best. Thank you.